Most of the workplace accidents we experience at water utilities can be avoided if we concentrate on the basics of safety. Nothing is more basic than the equipment we wear to protect us while on the job. Personal protective equipment, or PPE. PPE includes all clothing and other accessories designed to create a physical barrier against workplace hazards. PPE is designed to protect the eyes, face, head, respiratory tract, and body extremities from potentially hazardous conditions. The basic element of managing a safety program is an in-depth evaluation of the equipment needed to protect employees against workplace hazards. This creates standard operating procedures for personnel. The next step is to train employees on the protective limitations of PPE as well as its proper use and maintenance. To ensure maximum protection, all equipment must be properly fitted and maintained in a clean and serviceable condition. Most utilities provide basic PPE for workers. Each person is responsible for maintaining his or her equipment and making sure it is available when needed. As we discuss the various types of PPE, it should be noted that these aren't just utility recommendations. Most are OSHA standards and requirements. Let's start at the very top, head protection. Head injuries are caused by falling or flying objects or by bumping the head against a fixed object. Hard hats resist penetration of an object, absorb the shock of a blow, and are also used to protect against electrical shock. Metal hard hats should never be worn near electrical equipment. Hard hats absorb the shock of a blow to the head by utilizing the specially designed headband and crown straps that keep the shell away from the worker's skull. This is why it's important to always wear a hard hat in the correct manner, not backwards or adjusted improperly. If you share a common hard hat with others, make sure that you adjust it for your needs each and every time you put it on. It's important to know and select the right hard hat for the right job. Class A hard hats are for general service and have limited voltage protection. Class B, used by electrical workers, have high voltage protection. Class C hard hats are designed for lightweight comfort and protection and have no voltage protection. The type of hard hat is found on the inside of the shell, where the manufacturer, ANSI designation, and class is listed. Some regulators and employers do not allow paint or stickers on hard hats. If stickers are used, they should be kept at least 3/4 of an inch away from the edge of the helmet to prevent the sticker from acting as a conductor between the outside and inside of the shell. The area covered by stickers should be kept to a minimum to allow for a thorough visual inspection of the shell. The shell, headband, and all components of a hard hat should be inspected daily for signs of dents, cracks, penetration, or other damage. A simple field test involves compressing the shell from the sides with both hands and then releasing. The shell should spring back to its original shape without any signs of brittleness or deformation. Hard hats should be replaced at a minimum of every 5 years, every 2 years if exposed to temperature extremes, excessive sunlight, or chemicals. Always replace a hard hat that has taken any impact of any magnitude, even if no damage is evident. Check with the manufacturer in regards to cleaning hard hats because paint thinners may damage the shell and weaken it or reduce electrical resistance. Eye and face protective equipment is required for many of the duties performed at a water utility. Think you can go without? Consider this. In the United States alone, as many as 2,500 eye injuries occur on the job every single day. Injuries that could have been prevented by simply putting on these and keeping these on. Use protection anytime there's a potential for injury to the eyes or face from flying particles, molten metal, liquid chemicals, acids or caustic liquids, chemical gases or vapors, and dangerous light radiation. Each eye and face protective device is designed for a particular hazard. Utilities are responsible to provide a type of protector suitable for the work performed, and employees are obligated to use them, as are any visitors. Protectors must meet the following minimum requirements: be reasonably comfortable when worn under the designated conditions, fit snugly without interfering with the movements of vision, provide adequate protection against the particular hazards for which they are designed, be durable, and be kept clean, disinfected, and in good repair. Safety spectacles or glasses have lenses, temples, and side shields to protect against flying objects. Safety goggles are designed to fit the face snugly, immediately surrounding the eyes to prevent exposure to liquid or hazardous substances, as well as to protect against impact. Filtered lenses or goggles or face shields reduce the effects of ultraviolet light and infrared light. They are used in welding, cutting, brazing, and soldering. The required lenses for each varies depending on the task. Face shields are not considered eye protection. They are considered a secondary device and can only be used with a primary protector such as spectacles and goggles. Persons who use corrective spectacles can meet OSHA standards by wearing spectacles with protective lenses and side shields. Goggles are face shields worn over corrective spectacles, or goggles that incorporate corrective lenses mounted behind the protective lens. Some employers provide financial assistance in purchasing prescription safety glasses. The lenses of eye protectors must be kept clean. Vision through dirty lenses can cause eye strain, which is often used as an excuse for not wearing them. They should be inspected daily and cleaned with soap and hot water or with a cleaning solution and tissue. It's also important to have emergency eye washes placed in all hazardous locations. First aid instructions should accompany the eye wash station, and stations should be inspected regularly, up to weekly, according to the manufacturer's recommendations. Employees should be trained in the operation of these stations prior to needing them in an emergency. Let's look at ear protection next. There are several places in a water utility that are hazardous to our hearing, so it's important to have the right equipment when working here. When sound vibrations enter your ear, excessive noise causes the tiny hair cells to lie down. As the noise subsides, the hair cells stand back up. Over time, the more noise the hair cells are exposed to, the longer it takes for them to stand back up. Eventually, they fail to return to normal, which results in permanent hearing damage. Hearing protection equipment helps reduce the outside noise to below 85 decibels or dB. That is the level OSHA has determined it's safe to work in throughout an 8-hour day. Anything above that can cause gradual hearing loss. As the dB level goes up, the less amount of time you are allowed to work in that noise. Hearing protection devices are rated with a number indicating their noise reduction rating, or NRR. The higher the NRR, the better the protection. If the outside noise is 110 decibels, a minimum hearing protection device with an NRR of 25 would be necessary to keep the noise level at 85 dBs. The highest NRR ratings are provided by moldable earplugs. They can be made of foam, wax, silicone, or other material and fit directly in the ear canal. Next is the earmuff, which can also be custom fitted. Another type of plug goes in the ear held by headgear. The least effective ratings come from the semi-insert plugs that you squeeze and they then expand to fill your ear canal. Read the label carefully in determining which device or combination of devices provides ample protection for each hazardous work area. When combining hearing protection devices, do not assume that you are receiving the full protection of both devices. According to NIOSH, wearing both earplugs and earmuffs only reduces the overall NRR by 5 to 10 dBs as opposed to adding both of their NRR ratings together. Consult the manufacturer's recommendations and calculations when using their hearing protection device combined with another type of protection. We protect our mouth and nose, specifically the air we breathe, by using respirators. The two main types of respiratory protection are air purifying and air supplying respirators. Air purifying respirators simply filter the air by using an air purifying filter, cartridge, or canister. They're used for protection against dusts, fumes, and mists. Air supplying respirators provide breathing air to the user from an independent source. The two main types are supplied air respirators and self-contained breathing apparatuses. Supplied air respirators consist of either a helmet or facepiece covering the nose and mouth to which air is supplied from an uncontaminated source. This device is suitable for utility areas where work can be done near the air source. The self-contained breathing apparatus, or SCBA, is not connected to a stationary breathing source. Rather, a tank with as much as 4 hours of air is carried by the wearer. Consult the MSDS of the various types of chemicals used at a water utility to determine what type of respirator is needed for each hazardous chemical. The MSDS will also detail the other types of PPE that is required to work with each chemical or material. Note that more than one type of PPE may be required for the hazard present. It's very important respirator equipment is regularly tested and serviced. The use of this equipment also requires special training for employees. A medical evaluation of a person's ability to effectively wear and use a respirator must also be conducted. For hazards that threaten the bulk of our body or torso, we use vests, jackets, aprons, coveralls, and full body suits. As in all of our protective gear, it's important to make sure that it fits you well. It's not too large or too small to cover you properly. Heat-resistant material such as leather is often used in protective clothing to guard against dry heat and flame. Rubber and rubberized fabrics, neoprene, and plastics give protection against many acids and chemicals. Disposable suits of plastic-like or synthetic material are used for protection from dusty materials or substances that splash. If the substance is extremely toxic, an enclosed chemical suit may be necessary. Chemical-resistant sleeves, wristlets, and gloves supplement that barrier of protection for the worker. Gloves need to be resistant to abrasion, punctures, and chemicals. Electricians need special protection from shocks and burns, and rubber is considered the best material for insulating gloves and sleeves from these hazards. Gloves need to protect our hands, but still be comfortable and flexible enough that we won't be tempted to take them off while we work. And a note about jewelry. Remove it when you get to work so that it doesn't compromise our PPE or get caught in machinery while we're working. Now on to our legs and feet. Most foot injuries occur from objects falling on them. That's why sturdy safety shoes with an impact-resistant toe are recommended for water utility work. Safety shoes come in a variety of styles and materials such as leather and rubber boots. Foot guards and leggings may be used to add extra protection during some tasks such as welding. Specially designed chaps and leg protectors should be used when operating a chainsaw or other high-powered or hazardous grounds maintenance tools. And don't forget to consider the bottom of the shoe. Heat-resistant soles protect against hot surfaces found in roofing, paving, and when working with hot metal. There are plenty of possible wet surfaces at a water utility, so make sure the bottom of your safety shoes have a good grip to them. There are some other types of personal protective types of equipment that we may not use on a daily basis at the utility, but you should be familiar with. For example, for employees that work near or on the water, a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket or buoyant work vest is standard fare. For water emergency rescues, survival suits, boats, and ring buoys should be provided. Reflective vests, hard hats, and clothing are mandatory for anyone working around moving vehicles or controlling traffic. Bright orange, green, or yellow clothing is appropriate dress for employees in these work zones during the day. Generally speaking, it's a good idea to always wear sturdy work clothes that aren't floppy and susceptible to getting caught in pieces of machinery. Utility employees working in cold weather areas should wear adequate outdoor gear designed to protect against extreme temperatures and winds and have an understanding of the symptoms of hypothermia and frostbite in themselves and coworkers. And finally, there are some pieces of equipment that fall outside of the traditional definition of PPE at utilities, such as special fall protection equipment needed for climbing elevated tanks and towers and entering confined spaces. Full body harnesses, lifelines, lanyards, slider devices, and other pieces and parts of a fall arrest system are examples of PPE that require specific training. Training is an essential part of every utility's safety and health program. OSHA regulations make it the responsibility of employers to limit certain job assignments and the use of specialized PPE to employees who are certified, competent, or qualified based on their training. Besides new employee training, utility-wide training sessions should be scheduled on a regular basis and when new equipment and procedures are implemented at the utility. Utilities must keep a record of all safety training. Record keeping is also important in the follow-up of all workplace accidents. And as we hear so often, safety and the proper use of PPE is a utility-wide effort. Make accident prevention a part of your daily routine. If you observe someone working in an unsafe manner without the right PPE, do something about it. Speak to him or her directly, or report it to a supervisor if necessary. PPE doesn't do any of us any good if we don't wear it, and wear it properly.